Welcome back to CVINE's Tribunal Watch. This is it, folks. We're going to let you know exactly what's going on. Why did we disappear? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. In fact, during this time that we have not been actually covering the KSM et al. Tribunals, it's been about, about 3.5, 4 months now since we've actually come on and said anything about it. We have been doing a lot behind the scenes. We've been doing a lot of research. Now's the time. What we're going to do is we're going to put together a series. We're going to be cutting things down into bite-sized vignettes, so to speak, just covering a particular subject matter and showing the background behind it, the source and proof of where this information came from, and also to talk about connecting the dots. And we're going to be doing this together. This is a heart-to-heart to America because of the horrible, horrible day of September 11th, 2001 that has affected each of us, not only here in America, but in a lot of ways worldwide. Before I move forward in giving you a very brief synopsis of exactly why we haven't been moving forward and coming out to you with what is happening, I want you to see what is going on. This is our website on c-vine.com. Now, this is not a business in any way, shape, or form. No one's making any money for it. We survive on donations. There are hundreds of individuals working not only on this site, but behind the scenes. CVINE is a foundation. It is a charitable trust that was put together for we the people. Okay? So many people are volunteering their time in unimaginable ways to help work together to bring you not only the truth in the news, but to fix some of the broken things in America, and then work together to build up the teams to be able to get out there and even make more of a difference. But if you come to c-vine.com every single day, you're going to find that we have all kinds of late-breaking news. And what we do, what we're basically doing, is we're taking the news that is put out there and we are vetting it. We have licensed investigators, we have retired police officers, we have all different types of individuals that have a background of investigation and research. And they take the things that are put out there, which we are basically having a blizzard of mass disinformation thrown at us. It's hard to weed your way through it. So our contribution is to take this information and to vet what is real and to find the source behind it and to let people know, okay, this story's okay, this is good. We always, always, always show the original source and highly invite you to go visit their websites. But this is kind of a library to be able to come in to see on a daily basis. We also have a CVINE store, and if you have shirts, hats, whichever, this is also stuff that helps to build up the CVINE, or just become a monthly member. Okay, enough of that. Let's get right to it. It was in November and December of 2018. There was a public release that came from the Department of Defense that was looking for individuals to come to not only Guantanamo Bay, but to basically cover various different tribunals. But in this case, the KSM et al. Tribunals, and that stands for, the KSM stands for Khalik Sheikh Mohammed, and then et al. And the others. And so there's a total of 5 individuals that are being tried at once at KSM et al. We have never been approved to actually be in Guantanamo Bay, but I have been working very closely with the media representatives for Guantanamo Bay, Department of Defense, and asking them questions, and they helped me to kind of wade through all the various different rulings and everything else that's coming on, schedule changes. There's a lot. And a lot of it you can even look at if you take the time and want to and learn, quite frankly, how to navigate through the Department of Defense website. We'll make that available for you to look at. You have the availability for all the transcripts for everything that's been going on. So basically, we were approved to be able to go to Fort Meade in Maryland, to be able to watch the tribunals there. Basic almost live time. There's a 45-second delay from the live stream, but there's that same delay in Guantanamo Bay. It's even the people that are right there, and that's for defense purposes and etc. You know, to make certain that some things don't get out there that shouldn't. Understandable. So we went to Fort Meade, and the first time Leonard Bacani and I went together. And we went together a number of times after that and reported on it. First day we went was January 28th, 2019. And we have videos that reported on all of this. At that time, there was a lot, I mean, an unusual lot of misinformation out there peripherally from other people that were putting out really crazy, outrageous stuff. And we knew it with every ounce of our being because we were there and we knew exactly what was going on and we knew about the history. And so we worked with the Department of Defense to help kind of wade through you know, some of the stuff, you know, debunking, you know, no, Obama isn't there begging for his life, then no, Hillary isn't over here, and, you know, making all these crazy, outlandish, you know, things happening, talking about other things that are happening on the island. It was interesting. We walked into a nightmare. So not only were we trying to get information out like we could, but we're just regular Americans. We're just regular Joe Blows. I don't have any background in law. Yeah, I'm pretty good at research, and I'm a publisher. You know, I've done that before, and I even had 15 years as a nurse there for a while. So, but I'm just was a regular person, and frankly was on disability at the time, so I had plenty of time. But it's the same thing with Leonard Bacani. You know, he's a retired police officer and a private licensed investigator, and so on. We didn't have any background in tribunals, so what we did is we took a nosedive. And I have a feeling, this is just an assumption, I don't know, but I have a feeling the reason we were accepted was because we were so close. You know, they did have the people that were in Guantanamo Bay. Were there that, you know, the professional journalists, you know, mainstream media, you know, New York Times, Miami Herald, you know, this type of thing. Some of them were there, some of them weren't, but the majority of people in the beginning were doing squat and covering things. The only person that even began to do much of anything was Carol. And she's now working for the New York Times, but we'll get to that later. And that at that time, it was just occasionally an article when she worked for the Miami Herald. Before that, something would show up. But for the most part, people, these are pre-trials. 9/11 happened in 2001. And the first day that we were there was in January of 2019. So it's like at that time, it was like, what, 17, 18 years of pre-trials. And it wasn't like part one pre-trial, it was part two pre-trial. And we couldn't figure out why it was taking so long. Well, in brief, and part of this is repeating things, I heard at the very beginning, not only myself, but 3 other individuals on our team that would go to Maryland at various different points and period of time, from this one individual that was the father of the one of the defense attorneys of one of the alleged terrorists. And he was very proud of his son, really sweet guy, very knowledgeable, very loved to, explain and discuss things. Um, Wonderful man. Well, the first time Leonard Bacani talked to him, and then later on a different month, I talked to him. And then the other individuals on our team in different months in the future talked to him. There was always very few people in this room to watch these tribunals on Fort Meade. Very few. Sometimes it was empty completely. On the first day, there generally was some people there. A lot of them were law students. And there was just a couple of other people that were regulars that were there, but this gentleman was always there on the first day. Anyway, his one statement that he first told to Leonard and repeated to me and the others later was, these proceedings are never going to make it to trial. It's like, it was our first time there, and it's like, what? And he reiterated that. And he repeated the same thing to me later, and he went into the entire story why. At first, I couldn't understand it. But as the year proceeded, oh my goodness, the man was right. And quite frankly, he was parroting what he heard from his son, the defense attorney. Now, I'm not going to give any more names than that, except to basically say that for the most part, the people that were going through this, kind of going through the motions, that's just the impression I got as time went on, because they knew this was never going to trial. I'm not going to go over all the reasons for that right here. I have done another video. It's an interview, and it was from Mr. Solis from the Great Awakening. He did an interview, and I'm going to put the link in there. In that video, if you want to know what's been going on in Guantanamo Bay, I pretty much give a thumbnail sketch that took me an hour to go through, starting from point A down to Z to that point, which at that time, I believe this was in October, November, just this last year, 2019. And it talks about why things are still in pre-trial and what is going on in that respect. Well, let me tell you something. Every single time, I thought something was going to break through, because we spent all day, every day, whenever the proceedings were open, just listening to hours and hours of testimony and writing everything down. And as soon as we thought, at least it made the appearance that something big was going to break or it was going to come out, something always happened. Good excuses, good reasons, but it happened over and over and over and over again. Towards the end, it was getting predictable. Just to give a little bit of an idea, what happened with one of the previous judges when he had a detached retina. I mean, the next day was going to be a major testimony coming in having to do with one of the terrorists, the alleged terrorists, al-Baluchi, who is considered the money man, so to speak. Something big was going to come out the next day. All of a sudden, the proceedings were canceled for the rest of that January in 2019. They had only gone through, if I remember correctly, I'm going to have to look back, about a week of proceedings. And so we were really excited, not even a week. And then sure enough, this happened and everything was canceled. And our CVINE members donated a lot of money to send us clear across the country, because we came from California, to go all the way over to Maryland and have everything canceled. It's like, but we used that time to start learning how to do videos. I'm still learning. And also to do research on the history. And then as each month went on, something more and more interesting would come about, but something would always happen to stop information from, I don't know, any of us really hearing anything about it. It may not have been that proceedings were canceled, but there would also be situations where it would then become a closed proceeding. Well, in the beginning, a lot of that is understandable, and coincidences and accidents and situations do happen. But when it becomes habitual and it's coincidences after coincidence, it got to the point that in around actually in September of last year, which is something one of the videos we're going to be doing in the future, we're going to go into much more detail of what happened on September 11th, 2019, where the decision where AG Barr made to be able to release the name of one of the Saudi conspirators, that the victims and family members had spent years and years and years trying to have this name released. And I think it was since 2012? They had been trying and to no avail. And this is an important name. It's for Pete's sake. But they couldn't get that name released. Well, during all this time, you heard nothing about all these other very important details that were never brought to light. There were too many pieces of the puzzle that were missing that never were discussed, but details out the wazoo of everything that was gone over to the point of no return, and then gone over again and gone over it again, small little intimate details that is why the proceedings were moving at a glacial speed. Well, after three judges, various different judges had quit, two of them were before us. After things were moving forward, that was another one of the things that happened. Judges quit, then they had to go to, the voir dire to be able to, vet a new judge. And that judge had to become reacquainted. And so that was more time. And especially since each tribunal lasted about 2 weeks, maybe a week, excuse me, for these pre-trials. It just went on and on and on. Okay. Around October, as I was listening to one of the last tribunals, the pre-trials I was listening to, it's like, what a flippin' waste of time. It's like, this is going nowhere. I could see it because I had spent the last year going into minutia detail of looking to the things not only that came out in the hundreds of pages of transcripts every single day that came out. You have any idea how much time that took? Especially a novice like me reading through a bunch of legalists. And then plus doing research how many years before this. But you know what? After I came to this conclusion around October, November, that this was going nowhere, it was not a waste of time, because, oh my gosh, did I get an education. Not only what has been going on from day one, but what has been going on, last year. And then plus, since being basically the founder of CVINE, I'm in the middle of it, the thick of it, about all the other news that's going on peripherally, away from the military tribunals. So I was given a very unique perspective because I was working with the research teams and also helping to put out articles and so on, and began noticing a lot of things going on elsewhere in the news that seemed to be duplicating a process over and over and over again, not just in the United States, but in unique circumstances, in very niche areas. The same thing would be happening. the same delay processes. It was like, it was systemized. It's the best way I could put it. Things were systemized of delays and obstruction. Not technically because it hasn't been decided in court. So this is my observation, my personal observation. But it certainly is interesting as you lay everything out side by side and just kind of look at all of them as they're laid out next to you. Same thing, systemization. And then you look at what else is happening in other countries. Systemization. Things that happen as soon as people start to protest. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed this. It's getting predictable. It's getting a matter of, okay, now what false flag is going to happen now to divert our attention over here? Well, the last false, I am personally, at the moment, calling it a false flag, that most of us are locked down in quarantine. I am not saying there is not the coronavirus 19. There is. There absolutely is. But I'm not going to get into a lot of that. But I'm just letting you know that there's a whole lot of other things going on. But there is some incredible good things going on behind the scenes also that is countermanding some of this that you may not necessarily see or hear on the surface, but various entities that it's difficult to mention in this video are coming out and letting you see and hear some of the things going on behind the scenes, but they're not spoon feeding you information. They're making you look in various areas for clues, kind of like sleuthing, solving a mystery. Look over here. What do you see? Study it. Look at this little piece of the puzzle. Turn it over, get the notice of how it's laid out. You may not be able to understand that little piece of the puzzle just on its own, but get to know it. Set it down and sends you to another little piece of information. Same thing. You may not recognize what it is. We all know what we're talking about, don't we, right? It's a letter of the alphabet. Well, when you start doing your own research and looking at all these little pieces, or as they're called, little crumbs, it starts to put together a full picture, or even a loaf of bread. Once you get it all put together, but you intimately know every single little piece is accurate and correct because you personally were sent to look there. So when that final picture starts to come out, this is why this letter of the alphabet is so loved across the world, because the individuals are not spoon-fed, hey, this is real, hey, you got to believe me because I'm telling the truth, is because they have experienced the journey of where they were sent on looking up information. Now, not everybody is a research person, and so we each have our talents, and we're all working together to help this happen. But the reason I'm bringing this up, and it just isn't through that source, but many other talented, gifted individuals, people that are giving their lives to all work together behind the scenes, and it's all starting to culminate together, which is why I'm starting this video series today. This is just an introduction. An answer to the question, why did we quit? We didn't really quit. We just decided to divert our attention in a more productive manner, to really do some research, to not only find out what was going on and continue watching what was happening through the tribunals, which we could do through the transcripts, although it was very hard instead of just listening to it. We could go through some details, but looking through many, many other things peripherally that help to bring together this piece of the puzzle that we are going to be going through over this next week. I'm believing, as it stands now, we're going to have a total of 5 videos. total of 5 in the series, and it's going to go over individual aspects. But we quit that particular direction we were going and covering what was going on with the 9/11 KSM et al. Tribunal because it wasn't going anywhere. It was by design, as we found out later, and we're going to lay all that out. But there is good news at the end. If you can just stick through everything that is going on, you're going to have your eyes opened. And once your eyes open and once you see, you can never unsee. Some of you already do. All I have to say is, as things are moving forward, we are all at different levels of understanding, of awakening, of seeing what is happening. Some of us don't see anything. All we all have in common, though, at least most people, is a very definitive love for our country and what happened in 9/11. I think we all can agree that that was a horrific day. Let me give you a hint. That day connects an awful lot of dots. Many other things that is going on, not only in our country, but other countries around the world. And we're going to show you some of those dots, and we're going to let you decide. We're going to do what that letter of the alphabet said. Look over here, look at that. You check out this little piece of the puzzle. You tell me if it's real. And then we're going to do an analysis as we move forward. This is not a court of public opinion, but in a kind of a way, it's a court of public opinion. And if any of you has any other information to be able to bring in as evidence or, just something that is going to be of interest, please contact me. We will bring it out. We want everything to come out to you, we the people, because we the people are, if you think about it, the court of public opinion. We are the ones that vote or hire individuals to represent us in court, to keep us safe, to help make certain our laws are fulfilled and our laws are just and justice is evenly weighed. That's what CVINE's about, and that's how we are moving forward, and that's what's going to be happening in the next future videos.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright